Coming up tonight on the News at 6.
I'm at the age where I did the polio when it first came out and stood in line as a child.
Now people are lining up again, this time for Lewis and Clark County's first Phase 1B COVID-19 vaccination clinic. Plus, what a pair of bills making their way through the state legislature could mean for sports here in Montana.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening. Welcome to the News at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. Well, our top story tonight at 6, Lewis and Clark Public Health started the next step in vaccination rollout today, Phase 1B, which includes people over the age of 70. Now, this is part of vaccination guidelines laid out by Governor Greg Gianforte during his first week in office. MTN's John Riley reports.
Hundreds of vehicles were in line for the first Phase 1B COVID vaccination clinic at the Lewis and Clark Fairgrounds. Even though the event was by registration only, many were there hours in advance. Jim and Jean Dunn were the first in line to receive their shots and had been there for 4 hours.
We didn't know what the lines were going to be like here, so we just decided, we can read a book or listen to a book on tape and sit in the car.
I'm really glad that we are able to get in line and be here and get vaccinated. You don't realize how isolating this is, especially for older people. I think, we're maybe more careful than most.
This week's vaccination clinic was incredibly popular, according to the county, with reservations filling up within minutes of opening. Around 900 first doses will be distributed through the clinic this week, and more clinics will be announced as more doses become available. Although each person vaccinated had to wait 15 minutes to ensure there were no serious reactions, individuals MTN spoke with also didn't seem worried about any potential side effects. Helena resident Judy Harris noted the COVID-19 vaccine isn't the first vaccine that generation has pioneered.
I'm at the age where I did the polio when it first came out and stood in line as a child, and did the measles, mumps, and all of that. So I figured that this is real important because this is a deadly disease.
Those in line also encouraged others to get vaccinated when it's their time to help protect everyone. Although this is a big step, they'll still need to get their second shot next month to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Until enough people have been fully vaccinated, staff ask that people continue to wear their masks and practice social distancing to protect everyone in our community. Reporting from Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Information about future vaccination clinics will be posted on the county's website and social media. And St. Peter's Health also launched their COVID-19 vaccination pod for people that get primary care through them. And more information about that can be found on their website. Now taking a look at Montana's COVID-19 situation, active cases of COVID-19 in the state continue to sit just below 5,000. 2 more deaths have been reported since last night, which brings the statewide death total to 1,115. Active hospitalizations continue to decline and sit at just over 160. MTN uses a combination of state and local data to provide you with the most up-to-date numbers regarding COVID-19 in our state. And because of that, our numbers may differ from the state report. All right, now it's time for First Weather with the best dressed meteorologist out there. Here's Curtis Kremenitz.
Marian, you don't want to know what I had to do to get into this gang.
No, I don't.
You want to join? Go for rides here? All right, well, hey, good evening, everybody. Maybe not the best ride to take the bike out or the scooter out here around Fergus County and even Judith Basin County because of wind, but also blowing snow. We had some of that light, fluffy snowfall over the course of Sunday and yesterday, and Fergus County under a blowing snow or a winter weather advisory for blowing snow. We've had some gusts in the northern part of the county, already up to 60 miles per hour. Some strong winds for the Rocky Mountain Front, Toole County, Cascade County, Judith Basin County, down through the Judith Gap area, just south of East Glacier. A 96-mile-per-hour wind gust just earlier this afternoon. Now, we're at the worst of the wind right now, and tonight it will still be windy on Wednesday, but the wind will kind of calm down. Say it ain't snow. Areas that haven't seen some snow will before the end of the week, and that real cold is real close, but close doesn't mean it's here. More of the forecasts coming up.
Well, today, Montana's Missing Indigenous Persons Task Force met with a focus on the future of the program. During the video conference meeting, task force members were updated on the state's Missing Persons Clearinghouse, and as of this morning, Montana has 185 active missing persons cases. Now, among the missing are 56 Indigenous people. The task force also discussed proposed legislation. There will be a hearing this Thursday on bills to extend the task force and the state looping in Native Communities program, and to create new programs to respond to the missing person issue. Task force members said they are hopeful the bills move forward.
I feel like as tribal leaders, we have an obligation to our people to help advance this legislation. We have the power to influence if we just step up and let our voices be heard.
Now, this was the first task force meeting this year and the first under Attorney General Austin Knudsen, who took over the Department of Justice this month. And state lawmakers are considering two anti-abortion bills. A long line of supporters and opponents testified this morning before the House Judiciary Committee on the House bills that would restrict abortions or abortion-inducing pills. House Bill 136 would ban abortions in Montana after 20 weeks of pregnancy, and House Bill 171 would create additional regulations for the dispensation of abortion-inducing drugs. Supporters of the first bill say it is a small but needed step toward banning abortions altogether. Opponents say the bill is unconstitutional, and Montana's strong privacy provision in its constitution essentially prohibits restrictions on women's health care decisions. And the House Judiciary Committee could vote on the bills later this week. It will hear two more anti-abortion bills on Wednesday. A Helena judge set bond at $50,000 for a man accused of trying to kill a woman last October. 37-year-old Troy Allen Mullen is charged with 1 count of attempted deliberate homicide and 3 counts of partner family member assault. Prosecutors accuse Mullen of stabbing and cutting the woman, inflicting life-threatening wounds. The woman told investigators that Mullen had also attacked her before. Mullen was arrested by Utah Highway Patrol for driving recklessly on I-15 near Cedar City. And still ahead on the news at 6, how essential self-service businesses are keeping customers safe and COVID-19 at bay. That story coming up next.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the news at 6. COVID-19 has taken a toll on businesses both small and large, but what about self-service businesses like laundromats? Well, in this edition of The Rebound, MTN's Sam Hoyle takes a look at how local laundromats are fighting the pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made its presence known on businesses, both small and large. But what about self-service businesses like laundromats? What are the changes that they've had to make?
For laundromat owners Jeannie Warden of Rodney Street Laundry and Richard Garrett of Enterprise Cleaning Coin, it's about making sure that people are safe inside their buildings.
I'm here at 5:45 and I'm deep cleaning everything, every surface that I can think of, and then throughout the day we come in and just sanitize.
Most people are real good about masks, but not all. And we've had to ask several times for people to please mask up. But it's hard for us to insist, too, when they're in there in a self-service laundry.
The self-service business of people being able to clean their clothes does come with some drawbacks for business owners. With businesses like laundromats being open early in the morning and closing well after dark, there's no telling who comes into the building and who touched what. Warden says it's a complete crapshoot, and they just have to do the best they can do to ensure everything is clean.
That anxiety of how do you keep something that clean? How do you ensure that the virus isn't going to be hurting yourself as a business owner, people that come in, that need laundromats, that need these businesses to stay open and utilize them, or else, nobody wants to have dirty clothes. Everybody wants clean clothes and a place to do it. So, trying to figure that out. So we just cleaned.
Garrett said as of right now, business at his laundromat is actually up, which he believes is due in part to people wanting to be sure that all of their laundry is clean and that it's not contaminated with COVID-19.
Our coin business has actually been significantly up. And some of that may be people paying attention and trying to keep their, contamination at home down.
There's no telling how long the COVID-19 pandemic will be a factor in our daily lives, but as long as it surrounds self-service businesses here like the Rodney Street Laundromat, we'll still continue to navigate. Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN News.
All right, now with another look at the weather, here's Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gravenitz.
Well, I just finished up my poker run out around Canyon Ferry. Did you see that sunset here this evening? Now, this is a viewer that took this picture. Now, the water is still open, but great color out there just with the sun going down. I'll have more on the forecast coming up next.
Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gravenitz.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got wind, the biggest issue here in the state right now. Again, off the Rocky Mountain front around East Glacier, 96-mile-per-hour wind gust earlier this afternoon. The wind will continue to be strong here through the overnight hours. Now, the high wind warning set to expire at 9 o'clock. So here we are about 9:30. And notice we still have a lot of wind, but the wind begins to ease up here through the morning into the afternoon. So right now, through tonight is when we're looking at the peak of the wind speeds, and the wind will completely die down as we get into Thursday. Maybe still a little breezy up there around Glasgow, but it will be nice for a lot of the state to actually have a little stretch of some calm conditions out there. Here is a look from around Geyser at the Highwoods. A little blowing snow around Geyser. In Great Falls, 39, some gusts up to 47 miles per hour within the last hour. Helena, it's dark now, but boy, was that a beautiful sunset. Literally freezing and no wind in the Helena Valley. But if you were to head up over to McDonald Pass or some of the higher elevations, that wind is already pretty gusty up there at about 6,000 feet or so. But there you can see the current temperatures, a little warmer north central Montana where we've got the wind. Current wind speed, sustained winds, meaning it doesn't get any lower than that, 48 miles per hour in Cut Bank. You can see Great Falls, Havre, Lewistown all at 30 miles per hour at the very least. Still some wind gusts in Cut Bank of 59 miles per hour. That's the peak wind, what it gets all the way up to. And again, just north of Lewistown, some gusts up over about 60 miles per hour. This little front coming through, it's all about the wind. Really no snow until we get down into the Four Corner states and then also up into the Great Lakes in the Northeast, just a little snow there. So here's what will happen tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy skies for most of the state. And again, a roaring wind for the Rocky Mountain front out across north central Montana. Not so much wind down into the southwestern valleys here, at least not just yet. I think the wind will pick up in those locations tomorrow, but again, the worst of the wind happening now through the overnight hours, and the wind gradually, slowly subsides here through the day tomorrow. Decent amount of sunshine for central and eastern Montana. Some clouds closer to the Continental Divide. And whoa, would you look at that? A little light snow coming into the southwestern part of the state here on Thursday, pushing up in the direction of Helena. But I do believe this snow will stay just to the south of Great Falls, maybe out there just to the south of Lewistown, around Missoula, looking at a little snow. So northern Montana gets missed by the storm. No snow through at least Wednesday, but heading into Thursday, there's that little light accumulation, but enough snow to make things slick in the southwestern part of the state. Tonight, it's again all about the wind. Not very cold, but when you factor in the wind with the temperatures in the 20s and the 30s, might not be the best night out there to be outside. Teens around the Little Belts, and then also watch that blowing snow around north of the Little Belts and north of the Big Snowies into Fergus County. And here's the forecast for Wednesday. It's a windy Wednesday, but mostly sunny, and once again, temperatures above average in the 40s. Kind of tough to enjoy it though with the wind. For Thursday, here comes this little sneaky snow moving into the southwestern part of the state, affecting Missoula, Butte America, Dillon, down there around Bozeman and Helena, maybe as far north as Lewistown and Great Falls, but really better chance south of those locations for some snow. Still a little snow here around on Friday. Very light snow, but again, just enough to make the road slick. And then heading into Saturday and Sunday, for that matter, looking at partly cloudy skies, a little cooler. Temperatures actually below average for a change. Here is the 7-day forecast for Helena. Looking at temperatures cooling down after tomorrow, a little light snow Thursday night into Friday, then again Monday night into Tuesday. Those temperatures, the highs, the lows, looking a little more typical here for January in Fort Great Falls. A little light snow possible late Thursday into Friday, really south of town. Saturday and Sunday partly cloudy, and maybe a little more snow coming through Monday night into Tuesday.
All right, thanks, Curtis. Coming up, the Montana legislature is currently considering 2 bills that would create restrictions on transgender youth. Next, we'll hear from one transgender Montana athlete about the overall effect these bills could have on athletics.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. State lawmakers are currently considering 2 bills, House Bill 112 and House Bill 113, which would create restrictions on transgender youth. House Bill 112 specifically would not allow athletes to compete outside of their designated gender at birth at each level of competition across the state. Now, if passed, the bill could have a sweeping effect across the athletics in Montana. MTN's Kyle Hansen reports.
The biggest issue for us would be MSU hosting football playoffs because we have such a long tradition of hosting those, as well as now MSU, that if we did have this bill in effect, I can only guess that the NCAA would still hold to what they have done in the past and really have to look at whether they can host those events in the state of Montana.
If this bill was passed, its effects would be wide-ranging. According to UM Associate AD Gene Gee, Montana could face similar repercussions from the NCAA that North Carolina did in 2016, meaning NCAA-hosted events would likely not be allowed to be hosted in Montana, including things like football playoffs and more.
In this case, we have a couple of policies in play. We have the overarching philosophy of the NCAA of being inclusive, promoting diversity, the championship hosting policy that looks specifically at those same issues and then providing a safe environment for all to participate.
In college athletics, our goal is to be supportive of all of our student athletes. There are clear guidelines and policies in place by the NCAA in dealing with transgender student athletes. We will follow those guidelines and those policies that are in place, but we really want to be in a position where we can support all of our student athletes.
Haslam and UM have firsthand experience with transgender athletes when June Eastwood in 2019 became the first male-to-female trans athlete to compete in a Division I cross-country race when she competed for the Montana Grizzlies. Her coach at the time, Brian Schwain, said UM and Eastwood coordinated her transition in accordance with NCAA policies, therefore her competing was fair.
I think at the end of the day, when you look at June versus Jonathan, the times in which June ran compared to her gender probably lined up very similar to what Jonathan ran in comparison to his gender. So was it unfair? No, the assumption is that for that case, it was unfair.
College organizations like the NCAA and NAIA have policies that allow trans athletes to compete. Meanwhile, the Montana High School Association does not have any current policy. In the case of Eastwood, Schwain said her transition wasn't about finding a competitive edge, as some suggest.
June's first choice was to become a female. June's second choice was to compete. It wasn't reverse. It wasn't, I want to compete first, so I'm going to become a female to compete.
In Missoula, Kyle Hansen, MTN Sports.
In 2016, North Carolina's bathroom bill caused multiple NCAA events to be pulled from the state. After that bill was repealed in 2017, championship and NCAA-hosted events were returned to the state. And we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. Now, this story does have a positive ending, but it is something good to keep in mind here in Montana. A dog was rescued from a partially frozen pond in Colorado on Saturday in the afternoon. Firefighters responded to Stern Park in Littleton after some people in the park dialed 911. One of the rescuers went into the icy water tethered to a rope, and seconds later, he lifted the pup up and ran it back onto solid ground. Now, according to South Metro Fire Rescue, the dog was tired and cold, but appeared to be okay. Officials say onlookers did the right thing by not attempting to rescue the dog themselves and instead calling emergency services. So So it's good to keep that ice safety in mind this time of year. And if you do see a dog in the water, make sure to call emergency services. And that does it for the news at 6. We'll be back here tonight at 10 with your latest headlines and a look at that weather. We'll see you then.